Right there, hello to, welcome to everyone here at Genessis Models. Welcome to our live session. Sorry for playing cameraman just here. Yeah, again, welcome to the live session. We are working on our A4 just here. We've already sprayed the underside, going to spray the top side now. Bunch of masking to do on this, some tricky areas with the masking tape as well, so we'll be jumping in with that one. Just to let you guys know, hey cameraman again, just to let you guys know, the group build, the last group build came to an end. There is a video up showing off everybody's work and judging, and I've got trophies ready to be sent out and everything. Does also mean that the anything build, absolutely anything, no holds barred group build has also started as well, so check out the forum. All the details and everything are on there for that. As always, please feel free to jump in on the chat, ask whatever questions you want to ask. Could be absolutely anything, personal questions, anything about modeling, what you're working on, what you're stuck on. Ask whatever you want, and I'll do my best to answer them live in the live show just here. But let's jump in to our A4 just here. Let's get the camera right. There we go. So there we go. It is very hot in the UK, so I have got my background extractor fan on. Hopefully it's not messing about with the noise too bad. I know you guys said last time it wasn't that bad at all, sounded like Star Trek or something like that. But here we are, getting some masking done. Some simple masking to start off with. Right, I am wearing a glove as well, remember, because I mean we are messing with like the paint work and everything. We want to keep everything nice. Plus, again, as I say, it's hot, sweaty hands, does not go well with paint work. I haven't actually touched this for a couple of weeks, so a quick one I just wanted to throw out there is a little brush. It's called a scenery brush. It's by Citadel. Don't really use it for scenery or anything like that, but if you ever had your models sitting, you know, they've probably built up in hairs and debris and stuff like that. Really good brush just to quickly brush off any sort of hairs that have built up. Say, you know, in my case it's been about 2 weeks since I've, like, you know, touched this, so it's been sitting there. Right, quick brush all over, which I've already done, but it's a nice little tip just to do just there. Next thing is we want to do our masking just here. So first off, we've got some Tamia masking tape. Probably a really good product, actually. I mean, I've tried lots and lots of masking tape over the years, but Tamia's just always seemed to hit the nail on the head from the get-go. This is the 10mm, so it's about 10mm in width. So push it across. We want to put a piece across here, so kind of, you know, guesstimate, you know, have a bit more than you actually need, right? And what we're also going to do is, because this is like paint work, I mean the possibility of like sticking this down then pulling it up and ripping up paint is a possibility. So just on the back of your hand, right, it just makes it a little bit less tacky as it sort of you know, gets your dead skin off the backhand and stuff. And the best way to do it is not to come along and just like press down like so. The best way to do it is find point A and point B, right? So I know that point A is literally right here, right smack bang there. Alright, so getting out instructions or even reference photos if you really want to go that mile. So I've got my point A just there. I'm going to get out the instructions wherever they've gone. I'm just going to look, right, where's point B? End. This is this end. Not really much to go on here. I mean, I'm looking at recessed panel lines and stuff that are on here to sort of see how this basically goes. Right, so I'm kind of, I don't really have anything right at point B, so I'm looking somewhere in the middle to see where it goes across. Right, so it's looking a little bit tricky, but you know, that's modeling for you. So it looks like it goes like that. So I'm holding point A with my thumb, and then with my right hand thumb, the one with the glove on, I'm literally now going to press that down straight at point B. So we've only sort of, you know, pressed these 2 points, and then that gives us a really nice straight line all the way across, and then we can just basically get the rest of this to go down. Fingers crossed. Got a little lump there, so being careful with that. Wrap that around, maybe tuck that in there, and there we go. Nice simple bit of masking on that one. Next one is just here. We've got a bit of a curvy thing going on here. I'll show you how I've done that. Just a quick look at any questions. Somebody's asking about a high gloss black finish. That's Mr. Silence 33. High gloss. When you say high gloss, I'm kind of assuming like cars and stuff like that, like proper bodywork. Really, you can sort of almost use anything really. I mean, you can use a gloss black, put a gloss on top. Strangely enough, I mean, in some cases even using the actual spray paint they use on actual cars is quite good. But really what I find is going off after you've done all your spraying and your gloss, and then plain and simply buff and polish. Right, this is a good one to use. This is the Tamia polishing compounds. Right, you got your coarse, you got your fine, and then you got your finish. I forgot how much these were. I bought them years ago. They are really cool. You kind of basically polish them on with like a cloth, wax on, wax off, all that business. This coarse sort of sands it to a kind of a buffy type finish, and then it gets finer, and then it just gets really shiny. When you get to the finishing one, it can really sort of make your spray give you that high gloss finish, so to speak. That's sort of one way of doing it. I know some people kind of go, if you brush it on, you get a pretty good high gloss finish there as well, but personally I like to go down the kind of buff it at the end sort of thing. Or even I have done in the past where I'll spray on, I sprayed it on like a red Ferrari, and you spray it on red, and then you'll sort of do a bunch of buffing. You've got these kind of buffing sanding sticks, where you've got like a buff side, then you've got this finishing side, and you basically just go around and you sort of buff up your model as you go between the different sort of coats. So you put on your red, maybe a second coat of red, and you just keep buffing it in between. I know it's a lot of hard work and stuff, and then you put your gloss coat on, and as I say, you kind of do the whole buffing side of things that way. I mean, to really go for a high gloss, I mean, if you, I don't know, maybe you don't want to go down that route, I do like to use enamels is pretty good. I know acrylics are good, but when you want high gloss finishes, they tend to be a bit too matty, and you do have to do all that buffing and stuff. But go with like acrylics or enamels to get those high gloss finishes. So moving along, we have this in. This is jammy dog tape. I got this off eBay. Really good tape, because you know we got our Tamia tape just here, but to get curves, it's good to have thin tape for this kind of stuff. So what's this, maybe about 2mm. There's all sorts of stuff out there you can go out and actually buy, and you can get stuff that's like 1/2 mil wide and all this cool stuff. But here we go, it's quite hard to find the start. Again, with this one, we're gonna basically, with this one, it's sort of like you want to kind of go from here to here. Right, so I'm getting enough off of that, and then I'm going to cut it. Probably should use scissors, but hey, and a sharp blade maybe. Right, and then it's all about finding point A and point B again. So I'm trying to basically copy the other side just like so. This is quite a bit of a fiddly thing, so please bear with me. I know we're live. And again, it's just getting that point A to point B without it coming off all the time. So let's get one end. There we go. Let's hold that down, and again we go point A to point B, which is somewhere about there. Hold that nice and tight, push it down, and then it's probably a good idea to get the mark on eyeball and sort of look, see if it's looking fairly, you know, nice and straight, and it's not going to look a bit weird having one side higher than the other or something. So I'm just looking straight down the middle now, and then we can pull that around. Ooh, that's coming off. We don't want that to come off quite yet. So I'm just pushing that down, and this little bit of a tail bit, well, we can do pretty much anything. I could probably go, maybe just cut that off actually. 1 second. As I say, it's a hot day, so I'm getting like sweaty fingers, so you've got to be, I don't know, try and dry your hands off kitchen paper towel or something, because sticky, sweaty fingers is going to make all your masking tape no longer sticky. So back of my hand, just to make sure we don't rip anything up, and because we've already put this nice thin tape down, we haven't got to worry about how we sort of put our Tamia masking tape down, right? This is just to stop any sort of overspray going on. Right, now I haven't got to worry about the nose section, because I know I've got to mask up the nose, and that's going to be a different colour. So again, I'm just checking, looking straight down the middle. Right then, now here comes the curve part to it, right? Because with this particular one, we've actually got to go, you can see I've sort of started it. We're going to actually have some of the top colour on the underside of the wing, so you know, I'm trying to get this in that stage. Now I've got my wing pylons on the way, so I'm only going to go up to these points, and then from that point to that point, that point to that point. Alright, so let's get a bit more of this off, enough for us to have what we need. Good. We'll get our starting point. Our starting point really is going to be, you know, get this as lined up with our original blue as possible. Right, so I'm using my nail to sort of push this right up to our blue line just there, and then with this we hold the one end and we sort of walk it along, right? So I'm just gonna walk this along, pressing down as we sort of go along, and it gives us a curve. It's just got to keep pulling the one end. You can always pull it back up and start again. Right, and I'm just looking, making sure it's the same as the other end, although this end's probably not the best. But I'm just using my nail to push that in a bit. But you want it, this is the tricky part. The first one's okay, but the second one, you want the second one to look as close to the first side, so they all match up and they're all nice. So you probably spend a little bit more time on the second one, which I'm live, so I'm not going to. I'll probably redo it afterwards, but I just wanted to sort of show you the gist of it. Just going around that curve, it's just pulling one end, holding the other, and slowly moving your thumb along. Alright, and I'm just gonna, I probably will actually rip this up and do it off camera, because I don't want to faff around too long showing you this. Right, so let's just tuck that out the way, because I'm not going to spray this end. I'll do that off camera. But again, you know, come along, you can then nice and easily, because you've got the pattern, you don't have to worry about your Tamia masking tape. All I'm doing is slightly covering up the blue jammy dog tape and covering up your model just to stop any oversprays. Nice, simple and easy, just like so. So with that now masked, right, what we can do is begin some spraying. Now we should be all good. We've got primer down and everything, so you know, we brushed off any bits of hairs or something like that. We're using the glove to hold it. First off, I do believe I've got to clean my airbrush out, because I've got the colour we're going to use today in here. I'm just using this pot here. It's quite cool. Nice way of sort of blasting out any colours that are in here, and it sort of kitchen paper towels inside catches it and saves getting all nasties in the air. Bit of homebrewed airbrush cleaner. Press down one end, gurgle it up so it gets it all working inside, and then tip it upside down and work that all out. I'm just going to quickly read any comments. Plastic Monkey saying the Mr. Hobby gloss black gives a good shine, so you might want to try that one out. I don't really use, I have got them, I just don't use them very often. Not really a automotive kind of guy, but I do have a play. Got a question about doing the Tamia P38 Lightning. I haven't actually seen that yet. I will have a look at that after this live session actually, and I might at least buy it in and do an inbox review of it. Knowing Tamia, that'd probably get me wanting to do it. So yeah, quick blast. Probably blast through the last bit. So airbrush is nice and clean. We're then going to come in with a little bit of thinners. Alright, we're only going to do a wing here because it is live. Don't want to bore you doing an entire model. I'm going to make sure my air pressure is around about the 20, probably a little bit below 20 psi. I did have it really high before. There we go, that should be good. Going to get out some plain simple Vallejo Model Air 057 black. Vallejo Model Air is kind of like my go-to sort of paint set. They're just nice and easy to use, especially like blacks and whites. Right, got a 50-50 mix going on here for our pre-shading. Alright, let's get a brush out and we'll give that a mix. And hopefully we've got something along the lines of the right spray pattern that we want. Right, put that away. 1 second, let's get myself ready. Put that there. Kitchen paper towel down. Here we go. Right, let's just see how this is spraying out. Seems to be spraying nicely. What we're after with pre-shading is what we want to do. Maybe get you in a little bit closer. What we want to be doing, right? Press down the trigger, we get air. We slowly pull back and boom, it's that point in which paint starts coming out. That is what I call the biting point. Right, when it comes to pre-shading, doing all our lines, it's really good that we get that biting point, right? So, you know, follow our recessed panel lines. We're holding our biting point and just moving it along like so. Just following that biting point, moving along. Doesn't have to be neat, random is best, right, because it all adds to the flavour of weathering. Now these little circular things, they're a little bit more tricky because you've got to quickly get your biting point and get it on sort of quick, get it on, and then go around in the circle, turn off your biting point, start again on the next one. A little bit tricky. I mean, don't worry too much. Again, you know, randomer the better, because it all adds the flavour to the weathering. And it looks like my needle end's starting to just dry up a little bit. Again, as I say, it's hot, which what I'm going to do, because it's hot, right, we've got stuff called fluid retarder. Use this for all sorts of stuff, but when it gets hot like it is now, we can just get a pipette, suck up a little bit, get our paint mixture, and just maybe put in a drop or two. Right, you really don't need a lot of this stuff. And what this is going to do is the retarder, it makes paint take a little bit longer to actually dry, right, which is what we're after with this. So I'm just going to mix that in, make sure the fluid retarder is in there, and it should help with the paint drying up on your needle end in like hot, humid sort of time. So I'm just going to blast a bit through, because there is a reservoir in here, little reservoir we can't mix with the paintbrush, so just blasting that through should be rather nice. And then it's going to continue doing our bit of pre-shading. I do find if I keep the airbrush moving, holding that biting point, trying not to let go of it, just sort of get things done a bit quicker. Now I have noticed that I haven't masked up my white bit on this side, so I'm just going to quickly do that now. Let's quickly read some questions maybe. Got a little question about what thinners I use. This thinners is basically my homebrew thinners. Plain and simply, you go to Genessis Models website, under tutorials you will find a video on how to make your own thinners, and I do prefer making my own thinners. I feel like I've got better control to make my own. I can put whatever I want in them, and it's a very simple recipe. Doing my own thinners, basically it's IPA and water, IPA being like sort of pure alcohol, right, and then you can add stuff like the flow improver, like I've just sort of shown you, well, not flow improver, the retarder, and you can also add flow improver to basically just get your paints flowing nicely, not drying so quickly. Do all sorts of things you want when you make your own up. I'm just masking this up. Right, so it's a good video to go watch. I know a lot of people do quite like that one. Now when I'm masking up this, there's a little tip. What I find is if we get some scissors, we're just going to cut it so we've got like a sharp point just here, and what this allows us to do is right in a corner like this, we can get that point nicely in there like so. Right, may as well cut the excess off be a little bit cheap and just stick it down as well. And there we go, tuck that under. We're going to need just another bit, just running across here. Pretty easy, that bit there, one last bit, right on the edge. There we go. Right, so then we can continue with our pre-shading. Make sure we're coming out nicely. Again, find my biting point. I think I'm drying up still, probably because I left it for a bit while I was masking. But it is one of these things actually, you get these nice little guards on here. They are good to stop you stabbing yourself and breaking the needle. So you might want to take it off, quickly wipe up, put it back on. But when you get more competent with your airbrush, you can, I think my air pressure is really low. Yeah, it's gone down. 1 second. Just pop that up a little bit. There we go. So I'm just, again, getting my biting point, following the lines, keeping it nice and random. It doesn't matter if you like go over one area 2 or 3 times and end up making some areas like maybe a little bit blacker than others. It all adds to the flavour. Now there is a lot of these circles on here, as you can see, which is maybe a bit of a pain, but this kind of stuff really does look cool once you've sprayed it all up. Put that time in, it does look cool then. And then there's all these raised bits here. I'm just gonna make that a solid spray. Making sure I'm just getting them all. One little trick you could do is to do like some streaking effects. The way you do this is you sort of, it's a quite sort of get your biting point and then flick, get your biting point and then flick. Hold on, get you on camera. Get your biting point and then flick. But as you're flicking, you're then just coming off the biting point. If you could do that to the model, sort of really fast, takes a bit of practice. So on a kitchen paper towel like I've just done, you probably won't see these so much, but it just comes enough through just to give you a bit of a weathered look to it when you sort of do that pre-shading. So that's that done. I'm going to pour this away now into my bin. I'm going to do a quick colour change. Right, maybe zoom you out a little bit. There we go. So quick colour change. Airbrush Cleaner. Airbrush Cleaner again, same as our homebrew thinners. This is homebrewed Airbrush Cleaner. Basically I'll just add ammonia to it, which makes it nicely cleans stuff out. Please feel free if you've got any more questions. I'm just gurgling that up, tip it upside down. Right, we want any sort of dried bits coming out this colour cup end. Right, we don't want to be trying to spray them through our 0.4 needle. Probably 0.6 because it's a bit old, but still. Gurgle it up again. About twice normally does it. Right, and then we can start just blasting through the nozzle end until, you know, it's all nice and clear. Right then, so now we're going to come to our colour here. Normally for this kind of stuff I do like to use, where's it gone? Where's it gone? I think I'll put it back. I do like to use the Mr. Hobby, sort of the colour range, Mr. Hobby. Quite good product actually. They've got some good matching US type modern aircrafts, but for this one I was going to try out Vallejo. This is sort of one of their, well, I wouldn't say it's new, it's a couple of years old, but one of their newest. Light gull grey, it's 71121. This is it's FS 36440, which is basically supposed to be the right FS number for this, and I did have a little practice with it. It did seem pretty sort of good. Shaking this while I'm looking and reading any questions. Oh, good question here. BR Harris, have you ever had Vallejo air dry out, or does it seem to keep for a good while? Do you know what? Some of these paints behind me, as you can see, there's loads of them. Some of them I've had probably like 10 years, and I haven't really had any dry up on me. The ones I do have dry up on me are it's normally stuff like this, these kind of products. I mean, I'm not picking on ammo in particular here, but things like enamel based filters, streaking effects, panel line washes, you know, pretty much absolutely anything where they basically, you've got enamel in here and it's thinned down to the right consistency. It could be AK, ammo, what's the other one, MIG Productions. These I do tend to find they do have a bit of a shelf life. Yeah, it does really sediment at the bottom, and it can really dry hard at the bottom, and then once that happens, it's sort of like that's it, it's either done and dusted, or it's going to be a much more thinner consistency than what it's meant to be. So yeah, these are probably the ones that have a bit of a shelf life, but I've had no real problems with all my paints, to be fair. So I'm just shaking this up. Got another question from Mr. Silencer 33. Do I ever use AK's real colour? Oh, I've got some of that here somewhere. They did send me some actually, this AK real colour. I did try them out. I do believe I did a product review on them. So again, Genesis Models website, you know, we've got all the videos there, and I was really impressed with them. The colours did seem very good. It is one of these things. I've got so many paints right behind me that, starting an entire sort of new range of paints would be cool, but then I've just got so many different ranges. But it is one that I would really like to get the whole set of. I do recommend them. They're really cool. So let's just get started with this. Now these are, as I say, easy paints to spray with. You can spray them straight out of the pot, but they're still kind of a bit on the thick side. I normally do like to thin them down. I'm going to put a good sort of 50-50 mix in here, because when it comes to pre-shading, it is better to, you know, have a thinner mixture than you need than have it too thick. You come in with coverage that is too much too quickly, you can basically ruin all this pre-shading. You could spray on top of here and destroy all your pre-shading. So better to be thinner. Now I need a cleaner paintbrush. There we go. Mix this in. Alright, so you want to be careful with the first spraying, just to make sure we're not too thick. Alright, so let's just check, see how this is going. Looks quite good. Doesn't look like it's too thick. And then we're going to start off with a light misty coat. So light misty coat is literally, we're not really spraying much down, it's misty. you can hardly see that going down. Looking quite good. That first coat is just to give our paint something to stick to. Paint likes to stick to itself, and that light mister coat's going to go down. It's going to dry pretty quick. I mean, I can cut to air, that's going to be dry pretty fast, and it just allows all our other coats to be to stick and adhere a lot better. Right, so that is basically already dry. Now I can come along with a normal light coat. This is where we actually start to see this go down a bit. Hopefully, as you can see. And there we go. I'm starting to see our colour go down, but we're seeing the black. It's still coming through quite strong, but really it's rather best that we did about 6 different coats on this and get it just right, then come in with the first 2 and, you know, we destroy it. So because it's so hot, that has dried pretty damn quick. Right. Also, you might be able to hear the airbrush. Just listen for a sec. What you could maybe just hear there is like almost like a bit of a squealing coming out of the airbrush, like a bit of a hiss or something. That basically means, you know, my needle end is drying up again. Right, and again that is because of, you know, how hot it is. But I'm just going to sort of grin and bear it. I'm just cutting to air to dry this off. Right, when you're sort of doing a light normal coat, basically if it gets wet, if you see it getting wet, it means you need to move along. You don't want to keep spraying on a wet area. Right, so I'm just gonna come along, put on our 3rd coat here, which is really, from this coat I'm seeing we're starting to get what we're sort of almost after here. Still going to need a little bit more, but hopefully you can see now that our colours sort of really coming in. We're starting to get good coverage. The black is like really sort of fading, and we're starting to sort of see this nice weathered look to it, as if like in the panel lines are looking a bit worn, a bit weathered, a bit dirty and stuff like that. I'm just going to cut to edge to dry that off and maybe read any comments. Got another, just a bit of a comment really, basically saying about the Vallejo metallics in the 17mm dropper bottles. Yeah, I totally agree, they are crap. I wouldn't buy them. I think I bought them once, they was crap, and they're just still sitting on my shelf, and I really do try and steer clear of them. But in saying that, they did come along and they did start these ones up. These ones are rather, I call them metal color acrylics. If you want natural metal finishes and you want to use acrylics, these are the ones to go for. Just don't get the ones that are in these type of bottles. They are pretty naff. So now, one other thing is to remember is when you spray down and it's wet, the black can sort of disappear a bit, but if when it dries, basically that black can come through a little bit more. So as much as we could spray on this and it's wet and we go, oh, that's perfect, that's just the way I want it, but then it dries and then the black comes through again. So just kind of remember that also. Now the thing is, this is getting close now. I mean, one more coat over that and we could be very close to killing it off. So I do always like to, when we get to this stage, just add a bit more thinners. Right, we make our paint thinner, we make our paint more transparent. Right, so okay, this might take a few more coats because we've thinned it down more, but we then get more control over our colour, over our paints going down. Alright, so there we go. I'm just going to blast a bit off camera, because remember our little reservoir, and then we could come in with another coat, being sort of careful as we apply it, because we don't want to be killing off all the work that we've done. Right, and also it doesn't hurt that, I don't know, you might see that one particular area is the black's really coming out, whereas everywhere else it's looking good. You know, no problem in just sort of maybe targeting that little area or that little area. You know, just the thing is, I mean, the more sort of random you are, the more sort of you get this weathering feel to it. Right, so there's no need to be all uniform and just spray across, spray across, spray across, spray across, all nice and even, all nice and equal. You know, if you want to sort of come in from a different angle, maybe target one little bit, so then some areas maybe the pre-shading is coming through more than others. You know, it just adds to the flavour, as I say. Now that is close. I'm just cutting to air. I am sort of like, ooh, this really is potentially done, but I want to dry it off and just make sure, you know, the black doesn't come back, right? Because as I say again, when it dries, the black comes back a little bit more. But hopefully, yeah, I'm kind of liking that. That's probably just the way I'd like that. Okay, yeah, there we go. So that's looking nice, as you can see. That is some basic, plain, simple pre-shading. Is just getting that black just to lightly show through the paint that we've, you know, thinned down so much. It's been transparent, we've been able to control it, and we just need to stop at that right point when we see it come through. Thin your paints more and more helps you control to get that point where, oh yep, that looks good. And there we go. Hopefully you're just liking that. And as I say, you know, all these little circular things that was being sprayed here, I know it was a little bit tricky, maybe a bit tedious, but it really does sort of set it off like so. And you can almost sort of see the streaking if you're I'm not sure how good you've seen it on camera, but I'm just slightly seeing these little streaks that we did coming through as well. So that's really, really cool. But we can enhance this even more with some bleaching. All right, so what we've got here, we've got some Vallejo white. All right, now we've got a load of paint in there. We don't need it all. I'm gonna just pour most of this away, just leaving a little bit in. Hold on, just clean up my airbrush, just leaving a nice little bit in the bottom there. I'm going to come in with some thinners because we want this to be thin, just a little bit, because this is only like a little bit of a task. Getting out our white, and what we've got in here is quite a very sort of thinned down version of this paint, so we don't really need much white. The 001 Model Air white, right, a couple of drops probably will sort it. There's about 4 drops, and then we're going to sort of mix that in, and what we should see is a bit of a lighter colour. Maybe we might need a few more drops. Better to do few than too many, and just keep mixing it that way until we get this nice lighter version. There we go. Right, put that there. Maybe just a bit of a test now, because we've done the mixing in the colour cup end. Remember, blast through what is actually in the needle end. Go, see how that's going, and then maybe get you in a bit closer for this. Alright, what we can do, right, is just start. Let's get this lid out of the way. Right, taking this nice big panel here, we can sort of get our biting point and do just absolutely anything, all sorts of squiggles. Right, just to make this sort of mottled effect to it. So I'm just sort of, wherever it's like flat areas, you know, we're not doing panel lines now. Panel lines have been already nicely sprayed like that, pre-shading. We don't want to be going over that, but in between the panel lines we can just give it this lighter colour of our base colour. And if we squiggle it about, figure of eights, Tetris shapes, you know, make it up, make it random, you know, this is supposed to be just some nice weathering. Being careful, that biting point is like crucial for this. You know, you hold that biting point nicely and have it just lightly coming out, having that paint lightly coming out, and you know, you can get this nice effect. I mean, to be fair, you don't need to actually do this. You could have just left it the pre-shading, and then sometimes I like to just blend it in and just maybe a quick sort of blast, just generally all over, just, and it just kind of blends it in, just a bit of a distance. It is quite light. Maybe getting really sort of close maybe on some of these, if I can, on these little circles. I mean, if you can get a little bit in each one of these little ones, it just can add so much extra sort of weathered detail, like a bit of micro spray work. Don't worry if you don't get them all, you know, it all adds to the flavour of weathering. There we go. So you've got a couple of those little circles, they've all got like a little bit of bleaching going on in there, and we end up with this building up of, bring you in a little bit, we end up with this sort of building up of weathering patterns. Now there is post shading, right? There is another stage to this, but really I can't really do that without having the whole model done. I mean, really the bleaching is probably, you know, something you want to do when the whole model's done. I mean, I'm just doing this live, just one wing, but really you want the whole model done, and then you want to do the whole model with your bleaching, because we've mixed colors. When we mix colors, what I'm going to probably have to do is sometime, you know, next week, ready for the next live session, I'm going to have to try and make as close a match to that as possible to do the rest of the bleaching all over the model and stuff, and it can maybe look a bit funny if you don't get it right. So you want to do it all in one, and the post shading, I'd say more so. Right, so that's probably going to be something for next week, is post shading. Post shading is, I think it's really cool, and it's going, you know, advanced with, you know, model spraying, because, you know, we've done all this hard work, we've got all this sort of weathering going on, and then we add this bit more weathering with post shading, following all the lines and stuff, and if you don't quite get it right, you can sort of ruin a model. But you know, it's probably one of those things, if you're new to the model, new to modeling, probably not go off and do post shading on your first couple of models. Just I mean, actually just doing the pre-shading, maybe not even doing this bleaching we've just done, don't do post shading. And as you get more confidence, maybe a bit of post shading on one model, maybe on the next model do post shading and stuff. It's kind of up to you. Just take it in stages, try not to sort of rush ahead, do everything, because you might not, you know, as I say, it's like one of these things, you kind of need to get the experience, just get used to doing normal pre-shading first. So I think that is basically it for this model. We've kind of come to a point where I do need to spray the rest of it. I do need to get all the masking done all round, because I haven't really done all the masking all round. and then get it all sprayed up. And next week we'll probably be touching on some post shading, and probably doing some final bits, and probably find someone else to go with that. So a bit more spraying next week. I'm just going to have a quick look. Any questions? Get in any last questions or Q&As that you want to get in before the end, because we are coming to the end tonight. Right, so that is looking all good, ready for next week. Got to just do some cleaning up with brushes and stuff. As always, you know, please feel free to go to the Genessis Models website. You know, I mean, they're absolutely everything that you probably need for modeling. We've got all sorts of step-by-steps going on. I mean, there's just hundreds and hundreds of videos of hundreds and hundreds of hours. We've got all sorts of models, F-14s, F-15, you name it, we've pretty much built it. At the moment, we've got building going on with, got some Star Trek US Enterprise, we've got the Tempest going on, the FA-18. I was working on that this morning. That was quite cool because we finished all the deckling on that. So it's starting to take shape. So, you know, if you want to sort of go check that out, you've got Genessis Models, what is it, genesismodels.co.uk. As I say, you've got all the videos there. There are, you know, a nice couple of free ones on YouTube if you want to just watch them, and feel free, watch the free ones. But I know on the website there's, you know, a whole bunch of backstage where you just got, like, you know, as I say, tons and tons of videos on all sorts of model aircraft and everything in there. We've even got tanks going on, miniatures, all sorts. If you want to check that out, do please get in on the group build. It's a nice group build. We've got a nice forum. The forum is free, by the way. Anyone can join in on that. Nice bunch of lads over there. All sorts of questions and answers, working together, showing off people's work, showing off building it, final reveals. And I say, you've got the group build anything you want. You've got about 6 months to build it as well. So any scale, any size, any model, any genre, whatever you want to do, you know, you can jump in on that group build, because it'd be nice to get a load of people in on that if you're interested in joining in. But sadly, I think that is it for the night. We've got no more questions. So yeah, hopefully you have enjoyed our live session. As always, I'll be seeing you next week, Friday, 6 o'clock, as always. So until then, my name is Bob Wardron, this is Genessis Models, and I hope you've enjoyed.